She almost walked out before the appetizers even arrived. Not because he was rude, not because he was boring, but because when he said softly, "I need to leave by 9. My babysitter can't stay late," something in her expression shifted from polite interest to thinly veiled disdain. Across the candlelit table in a sleek downtown Chicago restaurant, Olivia Kensington, founder and CEO of a fast-growing tech security firm, leaned back in her chair and studied. The man, her assistant, had insisted was grounded, kind, and different. Different, she realized, was accurate. Daniel Brooks wore a well-pressed but outdated blazer. His hands were rough, the kind earned from work that didn't happen behind a desk. He had arrived 5 minutes early. He had stood when she approached. He had complimented her in a way that wasn't rehearsed. And apparently, he had a babysitter. "You didn't mention you had a child," Olivia said, lifting her wine glass but not drinking. Daniel's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "She's 8. Her name's Lily." Olivia gave a short laugh. "So you're, what? A full-time dad?" "Yes, ma'am." Ma'am, the word grated against her nerves. She was 36, self-made, worth more than most of the people in this restaurant combined. Her days were filled with boardrooms, venture capitalists, and keynote speeches. She didn't date often, and when she did, it certainly wasn't to interview. A man whose biggest priority was bedtime stories. "I just think," she said, not bothering to soften her tone, "that at this stage in my life, I need someone who's fully available. My world is demanding. I can't compete with PTA meetings." Daniel held her gaze. He didn't flinch. He didn't snap back. "My daughter isn't competition," he said quietly. "She's my responsibility." A couple at the next table glanced over. Olivia noticed, and instead of lowering her voice, she let it sharpen. "Well, maybe you should focus on that." The words landed like a slap. For a split second, hurt flickered across Daniel's face. Not for himself, but for Lily. For the implication that loving his child made him less. He reached for his wallet. "I'll take care of my half." "There's no need," Olivia replied coolly. "I can afford dinner." "I'm sure you can," he said. "But I can afford mine." He placed cash on the table, stood, and nodded once. "Have a good evening, Ms. Kensington." And just like that, he walked away. Olivia exhaled sharply, irritated by the tightness in her chest. Why did she feel off? She told herself it was annoyance. Nothing more. 10 minutes later, that irritation turned into something else entirely. The restaurant had just begun filling up. Laughter echoed against the high ceilings. A server set down Olivia's entree. She glanced at her phone, already drafting a mental note to tell her assistant never to set her up again. Then she heard the pop. It was subtle, almost like a champagne cork, except it didn't come from a table. It came from near the bar. And then came the screaming. A flash of orange erupted upward, licking the polished wood shelves. A decorative pendant light had sparked, and within seconds, flames raced along the wall where rows of high-proof liquor bottles stood like kindling. Chaos exploded. Chairs scraped violently. Glass shattered. Someone knocked into Olivia's table as they bolted for the exit. Heat surged fast and fierce, fed by alcohol and panic. Olivia stood abruptly, heels catching on the rug. Smoke thickened, black and suffocating. The fire spread with terrifying speed. "Everyone out!" someone yelled. But the main exit had bottlenecked. People pushed and shoved, fear overriding civility. Olivia tried to move, but a wave of bodies slammed into her. She stumbled, her ankle twisting sharply as she fell hard against the edge of a table. Pain shot up her leg. She tried to stand. She couldn't. The smoke grew heavier. Her eyes burned. Coughing seized her lungs. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not to her. Not like this. Through the haze, she saw shadows rushing past. No one stopped. No one noticed she was on the floor. The fire roared louder. And then through the smoke, a figure moved against the current. Not away from the flames, toward them. Strong hands gripped her shoulders. "Olivia!" She blinked through tears and smoke. "Daniel. What are you doing?" she rasped. "Getting you out." He didn't hesitate. He shrugged off his blazer and wrapped it around, her head and shoulders to shield her from the smoke. Then he crouched low. "Can you stand?" "My ankle." "Okay, I've got you." Before she could protest, he lifted her. Not awkwardly, Not uncertainly, with steady strength, as another section of shelving collapsed in a burst of sparks. Daniel scanned the room, calculating. "There's a service exit through the kitchen," he muttered, mostly to himself.
How do you...
No time. He carried her toward the back, avoiding the crush at the front doors. The kitchen staff were shouting, trying to contain flames with extinguishers, but it was spreading too fast. Daniel's voice cut through the chaos. "Clear a path!" Something about his tone shifted the room. It wasn't the soft-spoken man from dinner. It was command, authority. A cook pointed toward a steel door near the prep area. "There." Daniel kicked it open. Cool night air rushed in like mercy itself. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. He didn't stop until they were across the street, far from the building. He set her down carefully on the curb. Olivia's chest heaved as she tore the blazer away from her face. Fire trucks screeched to a halt. Firefighters poured out, hoses uncoiling. She stared at Daniel. "You came back," she whispered. "Of course I did." "You could have left." His eyes flashed, not with anger, but disbelief. "That's not who I am." She looked at him differently now. Really looked. Not at his blazer, not at his watch. At him. "You knew exactly what to do," she said slowly. "The kitchen exit. Staying low. The way you moved." Daniel hesitated. "I was a firefighter," he admitted. 10 years. Chicago Fire Department." Her breath caught. "Why did you leave?" "Lily's mom passed away 3 years ago. I needed something with steadier hours, fewer risks." He shrugged lightly. "Hard to be a single parent if you're not around." The words hit her harder than the fall had. She had dismissed him because he chose his daughter, because he prioritized bedtime over boardrooms, because she assumed ambition only looked one way. Across the street, flames leapt from the restaurant windows. The reality sank in. If he hadn't come back... She swallowed hard. "You saved my life." Daniel shook his head. Anyone would have done it. But she knew that wasn't true. Plenty of people had run past her. He had turned around. Paramedics approached, checking her ankle, offering oxygen. Through it all, Olivia's gaze never left him. "I'm sorry," she said finally. He looked confused. "For what?" "For tonight. For what I said. For thinking that being a father made you less." Her voice wavered. "It makes you more." Daniel was quiet for a long moment. "You don't owe me anything," he said gently. "I do," she insisted. "I owe you my life." He gave a small, tired smile. "Then live it better." The simplicity of that landed deep. In the weeks that followed, Olivia couldn't shake the image of smoke, of fire, and of Daniel walking back into it. She did something she rarely did. She reached out. Not through her assistant, not through ego, directly. She asked if she could take him and Lily to dinner. Somewhere casual. Somewhere that didn't require reservations made weeks in advance. He hesitated, then agreed. The second dinner wasn't about status. It was at a neighborhood diner with sticky menus and the best pancakes in the city. Lily was shy at first, peeking at Olivia from behind her father's arm. "You're the lady from the fire?" she asked. Olivia nodded. "My daddy's a hero," Lily declared matter-of-factly. Daniel chuckled softly. "Lily, it's okay," Olivia said, smiling in a way that felt unfamiliar and genuine. "He really is." Over milkshakes and fries, something shifted. Olivia listened. Truly listened, as Daniel talked, about balancing work and parenthood, about missing shifts when Lily was sick, about the guilt of not always feeling enough in either world. She saw strength in it now. Courage. Love. The kind that didn't show up on resumes. A month later, Olivia did something else unexpected. Her company had been developing emergency response software. Technology designed to map building exits in real time during disasters. It was good, but it wasn't lived in. She invited Daniel to consult. "At least let me pay you for your expertise," she said. "You see risks the rest of us don't." He resisted at first, then agreed, not for pride, but for Lily. In meetings, Daniel's insights were sharp, practical, rooted in experience. He challenged assumptions. He asked questions no one else thought to ask. Olivia watched her executive team begin to respect him, not because she asked them to, but because he earned it. The software improved. It launched nationwide 6 months later. And at the press conference, When reporters asked what inspired the final breakthrough in the product's design, Olivia didn't talk about funding rounds or profit margins. She talked about a night filled with smoke, about a man who walked back into danger, about the kind of strength that doesn't demand applause. In the crowd, Daniel stood with Lily on his shoulders. He wasn't wearing a suit that day, just a simple button-down. But Olivia no longer measured worth by fabric or titles. After the event, as the crowd thinned, she approached him. "You once told me to live better," she said. He smiled faintly. "Are you?" "I'm trying." She glanced at Lily, who was licking frosting off a cupcake from the catering table. "Would you maybe," Olivia began carefully, "like to try dinner again sometime? No time limits. I've already cleared my schedule." Daniel studied her, searching for arrogance. He found none. "Okay," he said. And this time, when they sat across from each other, there was no humiliation. No competition. Just two people who understood that real power isn't about status. It's about showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because sometimes, the person you underestimate is the one who saves your life. And sometimes, the greatest success isn't building an empire. It's building a heart big enough to walk back into the fire.